welcome to our deep dive. Today we're tackling a seriously fascinating journey, the ascent of Enoch.
Enoch, right. A biblical figure known for his righteousness.
And for his wild trip to heaven. We're diving into the Book of Enoch today.
Which really expands on what little the Bible actually says.
Seriously. Gives us a peek into ancient Jewish beliefs about, well, everything. The afterlife.
Angels. The structure of the heavens. You're in for some wild details, trust me.
The Bible mentions him as Noah's great-grandfather. Right?
Yeah, the great-grandfather. And that he walked with God. But that's pretty much it.
Not a lot to go on.
And that's where the Book of Enoch comes in. It fleshes out the story, makes him not just a good guy, but like a prophet.
Chosen to go to heaven, see it all firsthand.
Escorted by angels, no less.
Okay, so it's not just about being righteous. There's a bigger reason he goes on this journey.
It really makes you wonder why him, of all people, right? What made him worthy of a divine encounter like that?
All right, so let's get into it. How does this whole adventure even begin?
Imagine this. Enoch's going about his day, and boom, angels whisk him up to heaven.
Just like that. No slow climb, no celestial elevator.
Nope. Straight from earth to the divine realm.
Talk about a commute. And it's not just a quick up and down, is it? He visits a bunch of different levels of heaven.
Multiple stops on the cosmic tour, each one more incredible than the last. First stop. The first heaven.
Sounds promising.
It's pure righteousness, this place. Think of it as a peaceful waiting area for good souls.
While they wait for judgment.
Exactly. Serene, tranquil, maybe even a little bureaucratic.
Heavenly paperwork. Got to keep track, right?
The Book of Enoch mentions they keep records of every soul's deeds.
Makes sense.
But the main vibe is peace. Rest after a righteous life.
Well-deserved, I'd say. But something tells me we're not staying peaceful for long.
You got that right. The second heaven, it's the opposite. Dark, gloomy. A prison for the fallen angels.
Wait, the Watchers? Those who rebelled against God?
The very same.
What'd they do, exactly?
Two big things. First, they came down to Earth. Supposedly to teach humanity, but
they messed up.
They shared forbidden knowledge, corrupted mankind. And that's not all. They developed a liking for human women.
Forbidden romance. Classic. What happened because of that?
Well, they had kids, right? The Nephilim. Giants who wreaked havoc all over Earth.
The Watchers really messed things up, huh?
Big time. They corrupted humanity and created this whole lineage of, well, symbols of that corruption.
So the Watchers get imprisoned, that's pretty clear. But what about those giant kids, the Nephilim?
We'll get to their fate later in the journey. For now, let's move on to a much nicer place. The third heaven.
Okay, I'm ready for something less gloomy.
Imagine the most glorious place you can, times a million. That's where God lives, the heart of it all.
This is where it gets interesting. Golden streets, pearly gates, the whole deal, right?
It's unimaginable beauty, peace. And you might be surprised to hear it's also where the Garden of Eden is.
Wait, seriously? The actual Garden of Eden? With the tree of life and everything?
That's how the Book of Enoch tells it. It even describes the tree of life's fragrance, its fruit-giving eternal life.
So Adam and Eve, the forbidden fruit, all of that happened in the third heaven.
According to the Book of Enoch, yeah. It really makes you wonder how ancient Jews thought about the afterlife.
A physical place, a symbol. Lots to think about there.
And not only is Eden there, but this is where Enoch meets God face to face. And the four archangels?
Michael, Gabriel,
Raphael, and Uriel. The big names.
He's hanging out with some seriously powerful beings.
And it's not just small talk either. God shows Enoch visions of the future. Prophecies about judgment, the Messiah.
Wow, like a sneak peek at the cosmic plan.
Exactly. Enoch's getting the inside scoop.
But it's not all good news, right? There's a sense of warning in those prophecies, too.
Oh, absolutely. Judgment, the consequences of our actions, that's a big theme in the Book of Enoch. This journey isn't just for Enoch himself, it's a message for everyone.
He's like a reporter bringing news back from the heavenly front lines.
A cosmic correspondent, bringing back a mix of wonder and warning.
3 heavens down and I'm already overwhelmed. But there's more, right?
No, there's more. Get ready for a whole new perspective. The fourth heaven is where the stars and angels hang out.
Twinkling lights, constellations, maybe some angelic karaoke.
No karaoke mentioned, but it is full of breathtaking light and beauty. But it's more than just looks. This is where Enoch sees how the universe actually works.
So less about aesthetics, more about the mechanics.
Right. He sees the stars not just as, well, stars, but as celestial beings. governed by those archangels we just met,
Like they're in charge of the stars.
keeping them in line, making sure they rotate perfectly, influencing things on Earth even.
Makes you wonder about how ancient people saw astrology, right?
It definitely wasn't just made-up stuff to them.
Yeah.
The idea that what's up there affects us down here, very much present in their beliefs.
So if stars are beings doing their job, does that mean they have free will? Could a star just, like, go rogue?
Now, that's a question the book doesn't quite answer. It talks about order, divine will, but it does leave some room for speculation.
The mysteries of the cosmos. Always more questions than answers. But I have a feeling things are about to get a little darker. The fifth heaven's up next. And I doubt it's as pretty as the fourth.
You're right about that. The fifth heaven, it's a shift in mood. Big time. This is where Enoch encounters the Nephilim.
The giant offspring of the Watchers, right? The consequences of that forbidden romance coming back to bite.
You could say that. This is where they end up suffering. The Book of Enoch makes it clear their existence was wrong, against the natural order.
So they're stuck in this heaven, tormented.
A realm of unrest, you could say.
Seems like a fitting consequence for their actions and for the Watchers' disobedience. But why single them out for this kind of suffering? Is it just their lineage or something more?
That's a good question. The text isn't totally clear on that, but maybe it's a cautionary tale, a symbol of what happens when you cross divine boundaries.
A reminder that sin has a lasting impact.
Rippling through generations, even.
It adds a whole other layer to how they viewed sin and punishment. Not just about one person, but about the bigger picture.
The consequences for everyone, even the heavens themselves. Everything's connected.
5 down, 2 to go, onward to the 6th. Hopefully it's a bit more uplifting.
You're in luck. The 6th, it's a return to the glorious. Picture a realm full of angels, countless magnificent beings.
So like a heavenly city, but with less traffic, more ethereal beauty.
I like that. But it's not random. There's a hierarchy, different ranks, duties, all working together to carry out God's will.
Less city, more like a finely tuned machine then. Every angel has a job to do.
Exactly. And Enoch sees them in all their glory, shining garments, worship, praise. It's awe-inspiring.
Really emphasizes the whole grandeur of God's kingdom, doesn't it?
And the dedication of those who serve him.
It's like seeing behind the scenes of creation, the gears turning.
It really makes you think about how these ancient beliefs tried to understand the universe, how it all works, you know?
6 down, 1 to go. And I'm guessing we're about to reach the big finale, the 7th heaven.
The sit, the ultimate destination. Imagine the most holy, sacred place imaginable, times infinity, with a whole lot of glory added in.
I might need some heavenly sunglasses for this one.
We both might. The 7th heaven. It's where God himself dwells, surrounded by countless angels, cherubim, seraphim, all praising him.
Non-stop heavenly music. I can only imagine how powerful that would be.
It's presented as the ultimate goal, the peak of existence.
So Enoch reaches this place, the heart of it all. What happens then?
Well, the book doesn't give us every detail, but we know he sees the final judgment, the righteous and wicked separated, the balance of the universe, how God controls it all.
Like a preview of the end of times.
And he also sees these heavenly tablets, records of everything humans and angels have done. God reveals the mysteries of the universe, history, even more prophecies about the Messiah.
Enoch's getting a crash course in cosmic knowledge. Front row seats to the whole show.
It's hard to even imagine taking it all in.
But this whole journey, this ascent, it's not just sightseeing, is it? There's a deeper point to it all.
You're right, and that's what makes the Book of Enoch so fascinating. It's not just a cool story. It's exploring these ancient beliefs about everything. The afterlife, good and evil, the divine realms.
We've seen the heavens, met the angels, heard about God's plans. But Enoch's journey isn't over. There's more to unravel, more to understand.
We'll dive into all of that in our next segment. It's wild, right? This whole journey through heaven isn't just Enoch's sightseeing. It's like he's learning, really understanding how the cosmos works, what God's plan is.
Like a cosmic crash course. Theology, cosmology, the whole package. And he's not just watching, is he? God's actually explaining things to him.
Exactly. It's like a personal tour, a revelation tailored just for him. God's orchestrating the whole experience, showing him what it all means, you know?
Makes you wonder why Enoch was chosen, right? What's the bigger picture here?
Right. Why him? What was God trying to show him, and us, by extension? If you're going to teach someone about the universe, you pick someone who can handle it, someone who can pass it on.
So he's like a reporter coming back from the spiritual world, giving us firsthand accounts of everything he sees.
I like that. A cosmic journalist. He's witnessing the amazing stuff, but also the consequences. Judgment, the balance between good and evil, how God's in control of it all.
It's a lot to take on.
For sure, and it shows us that knowledge is power, right? Understanding the universe, where we fit in, that's key to growing spiritually.
It's not just about blindly believing, it's about seeking knowledge, asking questions.
Trying to grasp those mysteries.
Which is what makes the Book of Enoch so cool. It makes you think, question, explore. Speaking of exploring, we've talked about what Enoch sees, but what about the actual travel? How's he getting around up there?
That's a good question. And the book, it's a little vague. It says he was taken or brought, but no details.
Adds to the mystery, right?
Totally. Makes you imagine him soaring through the cosmos, angels carrying him, maybe, or riding beams of light, who knows?
It lets your imagination go wild. And it keeps the focus on the experience itself, the awe of seeing these realms. Not the logistics of getting around. It's about the journey, not the transportation. And it's not just about what he sees, right? The Book of Enoch describes the sounds, smells, maybe even how it feels to be there.
It's totally immersive, pulling you in like you're right there with him. Remember that description of the tree of life? It's fragrance. And the angels, they radiate light. Their voices are harmonious.
So it's a full-on sensory experience,
Yeah.
not just visual.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so powerful. It hits you on every level, not just intellectually, but emotionally, even physically. You feel that divine presence.
Makes me wonder, what was going through Enoch's head this whole time? Was he terrified? Overwhelmed? I mean, if I came face to face with God, I'd probably faint.
That's fair. But the book says Enoch was filled with awe, astonishment, wonder, and reverence, maybe even more than fear.
Maybe his righteousness prepared him for it somehow, that connection to the divine.
Could be. And don't forget the angels. They're not just chauffeurs. They're there to support him, reassure him, help him process all this.
Like heavenly therapists, helping him navigate the emotional roller coaster of it all.
Exactly. They're companions, mentors, helping him understand what he's seeing, keeping him grounded.
It shows that even in these crazy situations, you still need guidance. Someone to help you through the unknown.
It's about connection, even in the spiritual realm. We're not meant to face these things alone.
Everyone needs a hand to hold when they're dealing with the vastness of the cosmos. But speaking of vastness, we've talked about the amazing parts of the journey, the revelations, the beauty, but there's some darker stuff too, right?
Oh, for sure. The Book of Enoch doesn't sugarcoat things. The fallen angels, the Nephilim, the prophecies of judgment. It's not all peace and love up there.
The second heaven, with the Watchers imprisoned, that was intense. And the fifth, with the Nephilim suffering. Pretty unsettling.
Right. It shows us that the afterlife isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There's evil, there's suffering.
It makes it all seem more real, more nuanced. Even in heaven, there's a battle going on. Good versus evil. Light versus darkness.
And it's not a battle that's easily won. Just because you're in heaven doesn't mean you're done fighting.
It's about us taking responsibility, realizing our actions have consequences, and choosing to do good even when it's hard.
That's what the real challenge is, right? Acknowledging evil isn't enough. You have to confront it, resist it.
It's about making the world a better place, not just escaping to paradise.
I love that. Bringing heaven down to earth, that's a powerful message.
And it's one of the things that makes the Book of Enoch so relevant, even today. It's not just a story. It's a guide for living right, confronting evil, aiming for something bigger than ourselves.
It's about taking what we learned from Enoch and applying it to our own lives.
Exactly. It's not about running away to heaven. It's about recognizing that even with all the wonder and beauty, there's work to be done. We have to be active, engaged.
We have to make a difference.
We've covered a lot about Enoch's journey. The heavens, the angels, the challenges, the lessons. But there's one thing we haven't really touched on yet, and it's something I find really interesting.
What's that?
The fact that the Book of Enoch, with all this amazing stuff, isn't actually in the Bible.
You're right. It's considered apocryphal, not officially part of the scripture, at least for most Christian denominations.
Which is surprising. It's such a rich story with so many insights, and it clearly influenced other religious writings.
It did. There are theories about why it wasn't included in the Bible. Some say it was too mystical, too esoteric. Others say it contradicted certain doctrines.
But no matter what, it's clear that the Book of Enoch had a huge impact, especially on apocalyptic literature, with all its talk of heaven and hell, angels and demons, judgment and salvation.
Totally. You can see its fingerprints everywhere, and people are still fascinated by it today. Shows how powerful these ancient stories are, how much we're drawn to the mysteries of the universe and the afterlife.
It proves that even texts outside the official canon can have a lot to teach us.
And that the search for meaning, for understanding, never really ends.
We've only scratched the surface of the Book of Enoch. There's so much symbolism, allegory, theology to unpack.
It's a book that rewards multiple readings. You always find something new.
So to our listeners, I encourage you to check out the Book of Enoch. It's not an easy read, but it's worth it. Even if you don't agree with everything, it'll get your brain working.
And remember, it's just one perspective. There are tons of other texts, traditions that offer different views.
Enoch's journey is just one piece of the puzzle.
The important thing is to stay curious, keep asking questions, and embrace the adventure of learning.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into Enoch's ascent, we want to leave you with something to think about.
What resonated most with you about his journey? What made you curious? And how can you apply those insights to your own life, your own understanding of the world?
We've been on quite a journey with Enoch, haven't we? This biblical figure who got a personal tour of heaven, according to the Book of Enoch at least.
It's been a wild ride.
We've seen the different levels of heaven, met all sorts of angels, and tried to understand what it all means. But one thing that really stands out to me is the focus on knowledge. It's not just about Enoch seeing things, it's about him understanding them.
Right. Learning from the angels, getting these divine revelations, like he's being given access to some ancient cosmic library.
Exactly. And that whole idea of knowledge being power, of understanding the universe to grow spiritually, it's not just in the Book of Enoch.
It pops up in tons of old wisdom traditions.
It's about going beyond just faith, asking questions, really digging deep.
Wrestling with the big questions.
And Enoch, he's a great example of that, isn't he? He's not just sitting back and taking it all in. He's asking questions, trying to make sense of everything.
He's the ultimate student.
Always wants to know more. And it reminds us that learning never stops, right? Even when you reach the highest heaven, there's still more to discover.
Always growing, always expanding your understanding.
And speaking of understanding, we've talked a lot about the amazing parts of Enoch's journey. The beauty, the revelations, the wonder of it all.
It's definitely awe-inspiring.
But let's not forget, there's also a darker side to it. Those fallen angels, the Nephilim, the prophecies of judgment.
Yeah, the Book of Enoch doesn't shy away from that.
It acknowledges the existence of evil, suffering, consequences. It's not just this perfect, blissful afterlife.
It's real, raw, complex, even in the heavenly realm.
It's like saying that even in the presence of God, the battle between good and evil is still raging.
It's a constant struggle no matter where you are.
And we're all part of that struggle, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not fighting literal fallen angels, but we all have our own battles, choices to make that tip the scales.
Every decision matters.
It's about realizing our actions have consequences and actively choosing to do good, even when it's hard.
That's the true test, isn't it? Not just acknowledging evil, but actively fighting against it.
It's not about escaping to some perfect place. It's about bringing that goodness down here to earth.
Exactly, making the world a better place.
And that's one of the most powerful messages of the Book of Enoch, I think. It's not just a cool story, it's a call to action.
A reminder that we all have a role to play.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Enoch's journey, let's remember a few things. The Book of Enoch, even though it's not in the Bible, gives us this amazing look into ancient Jewish beliefs about the afterlife, good and evil, the whole cosmic order.
It makes you think, question things, consider different perspectives.
It reminds us that learning never truly ends, and that even when you're face-to-face with the divine, there's always more to discover.
And that we have a responsibility to use that knowledge for good.
Enoch's journey, with all its ups and downs, shows us that we're not just watching this cosmic show. We're part of it.
Our choices matter.
So keep asking questions, keep your minds open, and don't forget how much power you have to make a difference.
Make this world a little bit better, a little bit brighter.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Book of Enoch. We'll see you next time for another exploration of history, mythology, and the human experience.